Hi, Eric. Thank you for coming in today. My name is Cedric. Welcome to our session. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling okay. Um, so is this therapy?
That's a fair question. It is a little bit like therapy. So, I am a social worker. I am an intern social worker here at the clinic. I work under a licensed supervisor. And basically, what we will be doing together is more like structured support instead of like your traditional therapy. Um, so it's a lot of open-ended questions and conversation, and things like that. Um,
Okay.
okay. Well, first, I do want to ask you, if you even know what this place is and why you are specifically here.
Said something about trauma. I don't really know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, so just a little bit of background. This clinic usually works with youth like yourself who have experienced some hard experiences or traumatic experiences. So things that are scary or overwhelming that have like stayed with you. Um, and there's also this psychology method approach that I will be using. It's what I'm trained in. And so that is called trauma focused cognitive behavioral theory. So a lot of big words. But what that basically means is that we are going to have pretty structured conversations. Um, what this theory does is it utilizes specific tools to help people work through some of those really hard experiences that make them feel stuck so that they feel less stuck. Um, it's not really about relieving everything or making everything go away. It's really about building skills and then using those skills when needed to work through some of those hard things that can come up again, or even hard situations, new hard situations that can come up in the future. Does that sort of make sense? How does that sound?
I mean, it sounds fine. I don't want to talk about everything.
Yeah, and that's completely valid. So we don't have to go into the nitty-gritty details about everything. We can really go as far or as in-depth as you would like to go. So I really just want to make sure that you are comfortable, and it really only works if we are both comfortable with each other and we have a safe enough space to open up. So it's really up to you what you decide to share and what you decide not to share. Does that sound okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, awesome. Well, before we go ahead and get started, there are some like housekeeping things that I would like to get out of the way. So earlier I was kind of talking about how everything that is discussed in these sessions stays in these sessions. Um, there is a few little caveats. So, if there's anything that you share related to um, any potential harm to yourself or any potential harm to others, those are things that I would have to report. Um, as well as if there's any sort of ongoing abuse. Okay, so really, we just want to make sure you are safe. And so, if there's anything that points to potentially not being safe, then those are then the times in which I would have to disclose some of the information that you share with me in this session. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you gonna talk to my mom though and tell her about what I say?
Yeah, so that's a fair question. Um, to answer that, no. Um, we don't tell parents any details regarding the sessions. We do talk to parents, but in a more general sense, just usually about the progress of the sessions and how things are going. More of like check-in kind of stuff. Nothing too in depth or too much in detail about some of the sensitive topics that we will be discussing. Um, so your parent will be involved, but not to the level that I think you are thinking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you. And that's fine.
Okay, good. I'm glad that that makes sense. Um, okay, well, do you have any questions regarding the like confidentiality stuff or anything that we've kind of discussed this far?
No, no, I'm fine.
Okay, then let's go ahead and keep moving forward. Thank you for, sharing and engaging with me as much as you have this far. It's kind of going to start off with a question. And again, feel free to share what you would like to share and what you would not like to share, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Um, but I heard that there was some stuff going on at home, some potentially scary stuff between mom and dad. Um, I wanted to I was curious to know, I wanted to know if some of these things that has been going on between mom and dad, has it affected you in any ways? Like, um, have you been having trouble sleeping, or have you just been having a hard time moving through your days? Like, how have you been feeling?
I mean, I have had a hard time sleeping, and sometimes I just feel anxious or like nervous and afraid just out of nowhere, like in the middle of class. And I get mad a lot, like
Mhm.
really easily, which is kind of embarrassing. But
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I don't think that's embarrassing at all. I think that's very common, actually. So when people experience trauma or something that is hard for them to process, they can actually experience a lot of the things that you were just saying. So they can have like sleep disruptions, they can become more irritable. So that was kind of like the anger that you were talking about. Um, and then the anxiety, the increased anxiety also is very common for people who have experienced trauma. Really, the reason why these things happen is because it's your brain and your body's way of protecting you, essentially. It's your body's way of signaling that something is wrong, um, and maybe something that we need to start to look at, start to focus on, and turn our attention to. So that's actually kind of what we will be doing in these sessions. I know that it can sometimes be scary, and overwhelming to think about. I want to make sure that I'm being clear. It's not about, reliving these experiences, but it is about being able to talk about them and process them and kind of just share what it was like for you in that moment. Um, does that kind of how does that land for you?
yeah, I mean, sometimes when I hear like a loud noise or something or somebody yells, like m- my heart beats fast
Mhm.
and it feels like everything's happening again. And it's like even though I'm at school, like it feels like everything's happening. And so it actually makes me feel a little bit better knowing that it's not all in my head, like it's a real thing and it's not just me being weird.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing that with me. But what you were describing is actually called a trauma trigger. Um, so this is really just a response. It can also be called like a trauma reminder response. Um, when that happens, we want to be able to, bring ourselves back down to a calm state and try not to lose control of the situation. Um, so that's what we will be working on as well, kind of how I mentioned before, using tools and building skills to kind of help everything be a little bit more manageable. Does that make a little bit of sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I wanted to check in with you a little bit about some of the things that have been going on at home. So, like I mentioned, I know that there was some um, tension or some hard things that you witnessed going on between mom and dad. Um, please, if you are comfortable, would you mind sharing a little bit about that situation?
It's it's really my dad. Um, my dad gets really angry a lot and slams doors and yells, and he's kind of always been that way, but it's gotten like worse, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, over the last year. And he's never hit me. He's never hurt me. It's really just my mom. He hits my mom and he hits my mom in front of me, and it gets really scary watching it when I see it, and it's always so random. And then afterward, it's just really tense, and nobody talks about it. Um, and then I just sort of go to my room.
Well, thank you for sharing with me, Eric. I think that that sounds really tough. Living in that environment, so much tension and fear can really start to weigh on someone. And I just want you to know that what you experienced is a form of trauma. And it sounds like it was really scary what happened to your mom.
I I guess I feel kind of guilty calling it trauma, saying it's traumatic or whatever, because it's not me that's getting hurt. It's my mom that's the one that's getting beat, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. And that's such a common feeling. Again, thank you for sharing with me and opening up. But I want you to hear that your experience is valid too. Like I said, witnessing violence can create fear, a lot of fear, especially when it's in the home, and especially when it's involving somebody that you love, like your mom, and that can really affect you. Um, and the guilt, it makes a lot of sense. I understand why you would feel guilty, but this trauma that you've experienced is causing you real pain, it sounds like, and you deserve to be supported just as much as, say, your mom does, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just never really thought of it that way.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I don't. Okay. So I wanted to take a few minutes and just go ahead and give you a little preview as to what these sessions will look like going forward. I think it's kind of helpful to walk through a little bit. So like I mentioned, the approach that we will be using is a trauma-focused cognitive behavioral approach. Um, And like I said, we'll kind of start with some skill building. That can be like relaxation techniques, meditation, really ways to kind of manage those big, overwhelming feelings that can come up, and especially in the moment. These are great tools to use. And then when you're feeling a little bit more grounded and like you're ready to open up and share a little bit more about the trauma that you experienced, we'll go ahead and do what is called a trauma narrative. And so that's basically just an opportunity for you to share um, your perspective and your story about the situation from your point of view. Okay. And I know that can sound scary, um, but that's usually where people start to feel the most relief.
Okay. And how long does this all take?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it really depends. Everybody is different. But usually anywhere from 12 to 25 sessions. Um, and that's not like set in stone. We will check in with each other and see how you're doing and how you're feeling and kind of like uh, go from there. We'll kind of play it by ear how many sessions we will do, but it can usually take anywhere from 12 to 25 for people to usually start feeling like they're able to manage on their own.
Okay. That's actually not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, I'm glad. Um, I also wanted to mention that at some point we will likely bring your mom into one or two of these sessions. So just so you understand, what we usually bring parents into the session for is so that we can kind of show them what we've been working on in sessions, just you and me, but also to make sure that the support you're getting at home is is strengthened and it's there. So that's a big part of the trauma focused cognitive behavioral theory. But like we talked about, everything that you share with me in these sessions will remain between us, and we will always talk before we bring your mom into sessions just to make sure we're on the same page about the things that we would like shared and not shared. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Okay, good. Well, we are coming to the end of our session, but before we wrap up for today, I just want to make sure that we can talk about any last minute things that might be on your mind. So we just wanted to check in with you and see how you're feeling right now in this current moment.
I feel good. Um, it was honestly better than I expected. I thought it was going to be like really intense.
Mhm. Well, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad you feel that way. I think you did a very great job today opening up and sharing about these tough experiences. And I know that it can be scary to kind of relive some of these things and some of these feelings. Um, and so I want to acknowledge that. And I really want to applaud you for sharing with me today.